doing? All of you viewers, you're very welcome to the show again. We're hosting it on a Sunday night because of availability of people like us. Busy, 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 busy. Hope you're well. Anyway, we are still kind of on time because we are just in the weekend. Hope you're going to watch us. For some of you guys who don't know that we are now live on this particular platform, I actually put a link in my YouTube channel, which is Moore's Lifestyles, and hoping that you guys will actually participate and come on board. Karibuni sana, I see some of you already there, and I wish to invite you into the recording studio if possible. I'm using a different platform and it's called Riverside, and it's different from StreamYard. So I'm still learning how to use it. I'm just hoping that you guys will, participate and come on board. Yeah, so today's topic, before I continue too far, is about the MPs in Kenya who are busy chest thumping and claiming claiming that nobody is above the law. Yeah, anybody could be impeached. They suddenly discovered, that they have the power to impeach a whole president. I wonder why they didn't think about that before. Where have they been all this time? Yeah. When Gachagua was getting impeached, they were quiet. They were bribed. Some of them actually said that they were bribed certain amount of money to impeach Gachagua. So all of a sudden they just discovered, oh yeah, Gachagua is actually the deputy president. Yeah, so maybe we can actually impeach him. Well, yeah. Now they're threatening to impeach people. Why? Just because they have lost the NGCDF, which is the the CDF that has been the Constituency Development Fund that has been renamed National Government Constituency Fund, so that they can circumvent the law around it, because that NGCDF fund is really only supposed to be used for the counties at the county level by the governors. But the MPs are holding on to that money so tightly because it gives them power. It gives them power to say, okay, come here, madam, I'll give you 2,000 shillings to help you with your scholarship for your child. And it's just a way for them to hoodwink the public, and also to kind of like hold on to them and to ensure that they have voters at the end of the day. But really, it's not their responsibility. Their responsibility is to pass laws and to check policies and to oversight the government. It's their job as the members of parliament who are responsible for representation, isn't it? They're voters. But they're not interested in that. They're interested in the money. Today, I'm still waiting for Susan to join us. I don't know whether we're having problems in Kenya with the internet, whether she's having issues. But anyway, I really hope that, she's going to join us. But whatever the case, you're very welcome. And I'm looking forward to chatting with you today. So Susan had actually sent me this very interesting video about Kenyans not being able to afford, to afford their basic, their basic needs, to afford their basic needs. And oh, she's talking about she's trying to join. She's trying to join me. Okay, let me see if I can get Susan to join me. Let me invite her and see how that works, because sometimes this new platforms that you try to use, sometimes it can be quite not very easy to get people to join. Let's see if I can find her. Yeah, okay, so anyway, yes, I see that she's trying to join me actually, and I'll try to see if I can bring her on board, because it's important for Susan to be here with us. Yeah, if I'm not able to, it would just have to mean that I have to. Yes, so let me see here. Pop-up view, markup. Do you guys ever have issues with the layout screens? Yeah, that we have here. Do you guys ever have issues with them? Because boy, they can be quite something else, Yeah. Well, anyway, it's one of the challenges of being older and trying to go live is this exactly, that we are not very familiar with a lot of these platforms, and sometimes it can be quite difficult to oh, I think I have finally got it. Yeah. Let me try and see if I get her on board again. Yeah. So, but basically, we're talking about most Kenyans are unable to meet their daily needs. Yeah. And it's not surprising because even here where we are, here in the diaspora, I'm in the UK. Oh, this is just on the lips of everybody. You can see what's happening with the migrant population, what they're doing. They're trying to get the people are trying to get the hotels not to allow not to allow people to actually use hotels to host migrant communities. Yeah, it's a big issue right here in the UK. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to look for a way to invite Susan. Yeah, it's just one of those things, you know. I just hope that we manage to get her on board. Yeah. But anyway, a lot of people are protesting about the fact that migrants are using these hotels. And I'm just hoping that at some point they're going to find a solution because really it makes everybody uncomfortable, doesn't it? You know, it just makes everyone uncomfortable, and it's just one of those things. Yeah. So let's just hope that Susan will be joining us soon anyway, as soon as possible. So, yeah, so today we're going to be talking about the MPs themselves. So I had a little bit of a write-up. Let me read it up for you. Okay. Apparently, there were allegations of bribes. The president actually stated that MPs, some of them, I mean, some of these committee members were receiving like huge amounts of money. He accused the MPs of taking bribes. This is Ruto himself. In August, early this month or last week, he alleged that certain MPs received up to 10 million shillings to pass the Anti-Money Laundering and Counter Protection Financing Bill. Now, talk about an oxymoron. You're receiving 10 million shillings as bribe not to pass, to pass the Anti-Money Laundering Bill. I mean, how money laundering is that? That in itself is money laundering of sorts, isn't it? Yeah. And then he also said that meanwhile, the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, JLAC, which handled the bill, strongly denied these accusations, stating that no such inducements were received. So I guess the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, refuted these allegations by the president himself. Around the same time, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission confirmed ongoing investigations into MPs accused of demanding or receiving bribes and extorting cabinet secretaries or governors and inflating allowances, misusing development funds, or charging protection fees. Okay, that's according to the Citizen Digital. So, of course, the MPs are pushing back, and we can see, for example, MP Gitonga Mukunji, he called the executive hypocritical. He actually called Ruto hypocritical, claiming that the executive uses bribes to pass unpopular bills, such as the finance bill, and he pointed to the systemic coercion rather than isolated incidents. Okay, so apparently he's blaming the executive of coercing the MPs to actually pass unpopular bills, such as a finance bill. And the MPs also complained that Ruto's remarks harmed their reputation. So, for example, MP Njoroge Wainaina, he said that even their spouses are now suspect. They have become corrupt. The senators are also demanding, everybody is fighting. The senators are also demanding that President Ruto be formally summoned to provide evidence of his claims. And they adopted a presumption of innocence and insisted the accusations of such gravity must be substantiated through proper process. So the Member of Parliament, Junet Mohammed, argued that what was described by Ruto as bribery might actually be lobbying, which, while often criticized, is not inherently corrupt and is common globally. This lobbying is where, when they're not in parliament, out in the corridors there are people out there who are lobbying for certain bills to be passed, certain policies to be passed, so they give a little bit of an incentive, I guess. And according to Junet Mohammed, he thinks that is kind of okay, yeah? Oh, Susan is here. Karibu, Susan. You're not very clear. I'm not sure why.
Hi, can you hear me? I had some challenges joining. Yeah, I had a lot of challenges joining. Yeah.
Yeah, today has been one of those days, I've noticed. Yes, I really apologize for that. And in fact, your picture is not that clear, to be honest. I think maybe the internet is not very clear. You, yeah, but anyway, let me continue with what I was saying. At least you're
Yeah.
welcome. Yeah, welcome to the show.
Sorry, I could.
You couldn't? Okay, yeah. Okay, so let me continue now, Susan. Yeah, it's okay, Susan. I noticed that. So basically, bottom line, they say that there's no credible evidence reporting that
Thank you.
Continue, Susan. Yeah, it's okay, Susan. Yeah, we're having a little bit of a, what do you call it, like a playback echo. So there's no credible evidence reporting that Parliament as an institution was bribed to ignore bad policy news. And what's being alleged is that some MPs and parliamentary committees were bribed. Okay, yeah, we know about all that. Yeah, so basically, Senator Manzo alleges cash offer to sway impeachment vote of 4 million shillings. Okay, so these are the allegations. 4 million shilling bribe offer, 10 million shilling bribe offer. President Ruto alleges the MP bribed to pass the anti-money laundering bill, and then the committee denied it. Executive bribery claim. Some MPs argued that executive pressures to pass unpopular bills. Ongoing ethics and anti-corruption commission probe, you know. So there's all this back and forth. It's one of the most difficult things is actually to deal with this issue of corruption and the issue of bribery. And you know, unfortunately, our president, our executive was voted the second most corrupt president in the world, I believe, you know. And that is not a very good thing. And that's one of the things that we hear that Gashaga was saying, that it's unfortunate that according to him, it's unfortunate that the executive himself was voted the second most corrupt because he believes he's actually the most corrupt, right? Yeah, so apparently Parliament is considered an extortion ring, as the president publicly accused some parliamentary committees of functioning like extortion rings. Yeah. So listen, when the president is accusing parliamentary committees of functioning like extortion rings, you know, where money is demanded from the executive and governors and ministers in exchange for favorable oversight and reports, yeah, what does that mean? What does that mean? Because you see, all of these people are his. This is his government. So is he calling his own government corrupt? Yeah, Susan, are they? Is this the issue? Yeah. So there's been a lot of pushback against these allegations, and this is what we're going to be discussing. A lot of the MPs are playing the victim. They're demanding proof. They're turning their accusations around. Everybody's busy pointing fingers at each other. But as they say, there's this popular saying in Kenya where they say that when the fox is getting ready to eat their young, they start accusing them of smelling like goats. Kenyans are so interesting. I think it's something like when the hyena wants to eat their young, they start accusing their young of smelling like goats. I find that absolutely hilarious. Yeah. Yeah, so that's the issue. So Susan, I had just covered the fact that, you know, 6 out of 10 Kenyans can't even cover their cost of living. Meanwhile, these people are being accused of being corrupt, being bribed with 10 million shillings, etc. You know, it's just too much. Yeah, so let's see. Let me allow you on board and let you speak, and perhaps maybe get rid of my video a little bit to see whether maybe that might help you a little bit with your visibility here. Because it's not very clear, and today has been quite difficult
Can
to
you?
get. It's not very clear, and today has been quite difficult to get.
Can you see me clearly? Hello? Can you see me clearly?
Yes.
You can.
Yes.
Yeah.
No,
So
I can't see you
just
clearly.
to,
You're not very clear.
um,
Yes.
yeah, it's
Yes. No, I can't see you clearly.
you can't.
You're not very clear.
That's why instead of my computer, I tried. And now I tried
Not
to use
very
my
clear at
phone.
all.
That's better.
Can't really tell.
Better.
Not very clear at all.
Okay. That's come and help me to adjust it.
I can
Saying I'm
see
still
you.
not clear.
I can see you. It's just the
I'm not
picture,
clear.
not clear. The picture
Yeah.
itself is not clear. Although it could be my computer. I don't know. Hmm? Today is just one of those days, isn't it?
No, I. Yeah. Is it better now?
Uh, yeah, it's okay. Can you see me clearly?
Is it? Can you just check whether it's uploaded?
Yeah, it's okay. Can you see me clearly?
Yes, I can see you clearly.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
It
So
seems like your internet
yeah,
is not
just to
very
jump
strong or
in on
something.
that conversation that Maureen.
It seems like your internet is not very strong or something.
Am I lagging behind? Yeah, it's okay. I was just to jump in into the conversation on corruption and what's happening in this battle. It's really saddening because, like Maureen said, the president himself said he's a consumer of raw data, and he asked them, for instance, like about the 10 million shilling, and then he asked them, "Did you get any of it?" And I was so surprised by that question because how he asked them, by the way, 10 million shillings was given for this. Did you get any of it? That sort of thing. I found that, quite an inappropriate question to ask the MPs because, first of all, he was admitting he was aware of it and probably even the source of it. And then, asking them, did you get it? I thought that was, I was quite disturbed by that as somebody was listening to that conversation. Um, Definitely there's a game beyond what we're seeing on the face of it that is going on here. And this is probably about 2027. He's trying to, it's a preemptive move to sort of like discredit Parliament heading into 2027. He's trying to work on upping his popularity. And like Maureen said, there have been some, the parliamentarians have pushed back and said you can't give a blanket accusation. Um, One of them said this is a temple. State House is the temple of corruption. The bribe giver himself. So it's like the pot calling the kettle black, like we talked about in the last show. So it's actually quite, you know, a disturbing sort of situation we're in, because how the supply and demand, the supply and demand. Who created the whole system? Who is the one who created the whole system? Who is feeding this whole system of corruption? And and I was listening to Dura Waroinge, and he was saying this is actually, in his view, a ploy. First thing is going to be those type of allegations. Second is to discredit the Speaker of the National Assembly and the majority leader in the National Assembly, systematically. Next is to reshuffle the cabinet secretaries and remove some completely, especially those from Mount Kenya region, and stuff like that. So this is a chess move, if you ask me. It's not really about the corruption, because if the executive was keen on doing away with corruption, certainly the systems would be working better. But we know for sure they're not. We looked at the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission's report survey that was issued recently, and we found that government institutions were amongst the most corrupt. Uh, um, Corrupt institutions. I didn't see Parliament there, although there are the various ministries the top was the one under the one under Murkomen, and going on. We need to look beyond that. We've seen him doing a number of things. So since that statement, we've seen the ethics and anti-corruption. Maureen talked about it. They have done a report and they've said, oh, we have cases against these four governors, for three governors, Kiambu, Marsabit, and Bomet, the governors of Wamatangi, Bachok, and Marsabit, and Governor Mohammed of the Kiambu, Bomet, and Marsabit, respectively. They have actually submitted to the office of the direct public prosecutions. There's also, they're saying they're investigating additional 5 sitting governors and 11 former governors for corruption. Those investigations on that they're investigating 12 members of parliament, but in relation to the CDF, but not in relation to the allegations made by the president. But in relation to CDF projects and diverting of those particular type of funds. The other thing that, so we had the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission coming out and talking about this. And then as what the president did as well is he established like the MAT-WAC, M-A-T WAC. So it's what is it? It means it's a multi-agency team on the war against corruption, and that's what he established. And it's the executive. I want you to hear the constitution of this team that he established. The executive office of the president is the chair, attorney general, secretary. Then we have National Intelligence Services. We have Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. We have the office of the director of public prosecutions, director of criminal investigation. Oh, you have your hand up, Maureen. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just wondering if it's possible for you
Maureen, you have your hand
up.
Did you want to say something?
Yeah. Can you hear me? I was just wondering if it's possible for you to try and look.
Use my phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of the picture quality.
Do you want me to use another device?
Because of the picture quality.
Okay, let me use. Can we log off? I'll try to use my phone. I need to get it.
Yeah. I think it's better because I can't see your face very well. Okay, guys. Well, as Susan tries to sort out that technical issue, I just want to invite you to the chat session. You can chat in the live session, and I'll also try to send some invitations to people right now to get them to join us. Because of course, we're using a different platform. It's called Riverside. I don't know what's happening. I think for me, I'm quite clear, but it looks to me like Susan is not very clear. Sometimes what happens when you're trying to go live, when you're in a different country, especially when you're in Africa, sometimes, but Kenya, usually the internet is very good, but there's some internet providers who really are not that great. And that can also be an issue. Really, it can, So I just wanted to let you know that you can join us. Of course, you can join us, and we're more than welcome to join us on the live stream and participate either in the chat section. It's a little bit late, I know, in Nairobi. It's about 10, almost 10:30 now, but I think many of you guys don't even sleep late. So it's just unfortunate sometimes when you're not able to join us and find us, but I'm really hoping that at some point you're going to find us, yeah? Otherwise, this particular show is being recorded anyway, so you can watch it later. But of course, it's always nice to have you guys in studio. And I need to spend some time inviting you guys to come into the studio, yeah? Because it's important. It's very important that you come into the studio and participate with us, just like you used to do when I used to use StreamYard. Otherwise, you may have to force me to go back there. But I'm really hoping that you guys will pick up and that we'll find a way to share this with you, because really seriously, yeah, it's always important. It's always nice to have people participating with us. People participating. Yeah. So basically, what Susan is talking about is the corruption in Parliament and the fact that the president himself asked the question, like he asked the committee members, "Did you know that some of your committee members are receiving 10 million shillings?" The question is that was very strange. In my view, it was quite a strange question, and my question is why and then also, by the way, in the meantime, there are some facilities like hospitals, like even right now I'm just reading something online. It talks about that private hospitals are calling out the CS Aden Dwale over the fake facility paid over 10 million shillings. So we have some hospitals which should be receiving funds, which are not receiving funds, and the ones that are not supposed to be receiving funds are receiving funds. So some of the fake hospitals are receiving funds, and some of the fake hospitals are receiving funds, and some of the ones that are real are being denied funds. That's something also I believe that Susan will also talk about. I can see she's trying to come back on, and I'm really hoping that it's going to be nice and clear, because I really don't want to lose Susan's opportunity to chat with us here. Yeah. I can see she's probably going to try to come back on. And in the meantime, yeah, so that's the issue. In the meantime, I'm going to be inviting you guys. Let me see if Susan's visible now. Let me see. She looks like she is. Oh, that's perfect, Susan. Yeah, it's perfect. But you're upside down. You're upside down now. Yeah, that way. That's perfect. That's perfect. Yeah, that's okay. So we just have to put on your mic and then you're on.
I didn't hear you. Hello?
Yeah. I was saying, if you put on your mic, then we'll hear you. Can you hear us now? Can you hear
I can
me?
hear you. Let me just a minute.
Perfect.
Let me leave
Perfect.
this.
Now I can see you perfectly. Yeah. It was impossible to see you with the other one. I think you were using your laptop or something, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
using my laptop. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is better. My phone has a better camera. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely does. Definitely does. Let's use your phone, man, because now at least I can see that that's Susan and that's not a fake Susan.
Okay.
Okay, so meanwhile, as you continue, I'm going to try to invite other people to come in. Yeah.
Yeah. So do I start again or do I just
No,
continue
just
the
continue. That's
conversation?
fine. That's just fine. That's just fine. It's a live show anyway, so just go ahead. We could hear you. The only problem, and even hearing you was not that clear. Look at how bright and lovely you look. We missed all that before. we missed we missed your beautiful yellow. We couldn't see anything there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I was just building on what talking about the constitution of the multi-agency team on the war against corruption that was established by the president, and pointing out the constitution of this particular team. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's the executive office of the president, the chair as the chair. Then we have the attorney general as the secretary, and then National Intelligence Services, Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, Director of Criminal Investigations, Assets Recovery Agency, Financial Reporting Center, CBK, KRA, Public Procurement Regulatory Agency. So this is what he established. But he claims he was building on recommendations that were made by a task force in 2015 on anti-corruption reforms. and also legislative reforms like the Conflict of Interest Act that was passed recently in 2025, and amendments to the Proceeds of Crime and Money Laundering Act. But this notwithstanding, the matter was taken to court because they argued, the petitioners took the matter to court on a constitutional matter and said it's unconstitutional to establish this particular agency because there are other agencies which are, constitutional agencies which are charged with the same job. One is the Office of the Director of the Public Prosecutions, and secondly, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. So he was establishing this particular organization they claimed there was duplication. First of all, trying to usurp the roles of these other organizations, which are constitutionally recognized, and duplicate their work. There was pushback from the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, who said no, they don't agree. They think the role of this particular, the MATWAC, is to coordinate. But you see, the truth of the matter is the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission and the ODPP, they have their roles, and they didn't talk about all of them because even some of the other constitutional organs which are recognized have that coordinating responsibility. So you really don't need another one, And of course, this is if you look clearly and closely and cleanly, it's like a way of controlling the narrative. He has established this to control the narrative, and will literally defeat the issues. Because if you look at some of the allegations on corruption, some of them are nepotism and cronyism, conflict of interest, money laundering, things like that. Those are the allegations. Possession of unexplained assets and stuff like that. That these people who are being charged by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption, or rather who have been investigated and they found that they have sufficient evidence to forward the file to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, are alleging against these individuals. So this is a battle, but we know for sure this is a smokescreen. This is really about gaining popularity, to paying lip service to the war against corruption, because we know, it's a bit late in the day to show an interest in it. We know this has been, even when with the previous presidency, Uhuru said that we were losing about 2 billion shillings every day. I think you can remember that, him making that remark, through corruption. And nothing has been done about it until now, when somebody is trying to prepare, for the second term of their presidency. So those concerns are there. It's a tough conversation. And like I was telling you, that Waroinge has his views about this being a point, a strategy. This is just a leg in what the president is intending to achieve. And he's slowly pushing people out of the way, and we're seeing the picture more clearly. The Speaker of National Assembly, according to Dura Waroinge, his position is at risk, and we can see those shakings when you attack Parliament and say they're the most corrupt. Not to mention, anyway, as I think as Kenyans, we're a bit concerned about the way he conducts himself, because he seems to be the Speaker of the National Assembly is supposed to be an impartial person, but yet we've seen him going round with the ruling party. We've seen him going round with them. He's not supposed to be doing that. He's supposed to be impartial, because he sits there in Parliament to mediate and to adjudicate and to ensure smooth running of the affairs of Parliament. And in Parliament, we have all these parties. So he's not supposed to be pro any party, but he seems to be, not impartial in his conduct. So, I mean, there are things, again, that people have against him, but it looks like according to Waronge, his head is one of the ones that's likely to roll soon. Also, the speaker of the not the speaker, the leader of the majority leader in National Assembly, Kimani Ichung'wah, and we've seen all types of clips online about him feeling that he's lost his his favor. He's with the presidency, and he's being sort of outside and marginalized, and also snidely accused of being corrupt. And things like that. So he's been speaking out. We've seen some clips online. So I don't know. It looks like there might be something in Waronge's words. And we're just watching some movements like a play unraveling before our eyes. So there are a number of people. And then the next thing he also mentioned was that the cabinet secretaries who are from the Mount Kenya region, and he sort of pinpointed Kabogo and others, are likely to start, to be reshuffled out. They'll lose their positions in cabinet. So we are just watching that space. So corruption in this nation has some really, really far-reaching effects. It seems it's something that people have sort of accepted as part of our daily lives, which is not right, because it's enhancing, it's exacerbating poverty. Money is being diverted. Immediately we hear the other debate that is there currently in Parliament is the push and pull between the executive and Parliament is the issue of the NGCDF funds. And there's a reluctance to allow the parliamentarians, the MPs who are in charge of those funds and their distribution, for them to manage that. And of course, the parliamentarians are pushing back and saying, well, we should be the ones managing this money. Of course, the allegations are that the money is being misused and stuff like that. So there are battles on different levels going on between the executive and Parliament right now. I think the other big discussion was Gachagwa's return, which happened earlier this week on 21st of August. And so he arrived. It was a crowd at the airport. People had, I was listening to some of the radio stations and the TV stations on YouTube, and people had sort of like paid their fare to go to receive him at the airport, in buses and stuff like that. So there were also, if you recall, there were some claims that there was an intention to arrest him at the airport because of the allegations he had made in the US that the president was in a meeting with 3 Al-Shabaab leaders, and that he was there was the gold for arms trade that he was engaged in as the presidency, and the Americans were very, very keen to hear more about that, because they associate the two institutions with terrorism, and terrorism is a war the whole world is fighting against. So they were saying that, he should come and write a statement. So of course the argument is whether or not he should write a statement. So there was that threat hanging over his head that he'd be arrested on arrival at the airport. There were allegations that there were plenty of police there ready to arrest him, but again, there are also allegations that they could not get near him because he was completely surrounded with so many people. It was not possible for them to arrest him. But what happened is, when they, if you're familiar with the Mombasa Road, when they got near the City Cabanas area, they found barricades, stones on the road. Goons started throwing stones. The convoy was very badly damaged by those stones, actually, but they eventually managed to forge through. There's an intention as part of their plans that he would address the crowd at Kamkunji, but he never did. I think that for security reasons, he didn't do that because there was a lot of chaos around the Cabanas, city Cabanas area. So the issue was, I saw some outlets saying, "Oh, he's coming home was underwhelming because he didn't address the people." Um, but the other politicians did speak. They did manage to speak through the roofs of their cars. They did address the issues. There was a lot of, condemnation for the violence that they met along the way. Actually, it was really serious. Some people I think some journalists were actually injured, journalists from Citizen and TV 47, I think. They were seriously injured, by stone throwing goons. The goons and the police seemed to be standing, next to each other, which was not good for optics, and sort of suggests that they were on the same side of that particular situation. And it's just the same as in the protest where we had these pictures of the goons, mingling freely with the police on the same side, holding those djembe sticks, the big canes, and they were the ones that were using to beat protesters. So it was sort of the same image. In fact, I was listening to one outlet where they said that there are even videos where some people who live in that area were able to catch them setting up, the barricades, putting the stones on the road. The goons arriving and then putting stones all over the road and then positioning themselves to attack the convoy as it passed. So, I mean, it's really sad that that had to happen, but people will continue. People have been through protests; they still go to the streets. We've lost a lot of young men and women as a result of that. Others have disappeared. Abduction is still continuing. People being charged, the bail terms being too high. Talking about people being charged, Boniface Mwangi, his case, the court gave the police, the DCI, 14 days to come up with a clear charge of Boniface Mwangi. So let's see how that goes. So there are all these things happening when there's concerns about what people think and about the situation. Those people who are very vocal about issues are facing, that sort of negative pushback and stuff. So, yeah. So, talking about, so the corruption has been a very big issue, and then of course Gachagwa's return again has been, it was, he has not really, I've not seen any clip where he has addressed people yet. We don't know why, but maybe he has. Today was Sunday, so he could have addressed, gone to church and made some comments as parliamentarians I want to do. Actually, I heard some parliamentarians, I think Babu Awino and Edwin Sifuna, they were very, very vocal. They went to church and they were very vocal. Somewhere in Embakasi, they were very vocal and clear. And in fact, Sifuna said, "Pray for us. We need the fourth man." If you know the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the furnace, they were put in the furnace by Nebuchadnezzar because they refused to bow to an idol. And then when they checked, they saw the fourth man, who was Jesus. So they were saying, he was saying, we need the fourth man in this situation. We need, we need Jesus. We need help, because he was saying their lives are at risk, but they will not stop speaking up against things that are not going right. And interestingly, even in this space, we've seen a further push. The tensions, the falling of Grace or of Raila, we're finding people from the, who'd normally be his very, very strong supporters, deciding to choose a different way because they're not satisfied with the choices that he has made, even for ODM as a party. Found Sifuna doing that, and Babu Owino. They have a lot of respect for him, that's what they say, but they just don't agree with his politics currently. This broad-based government has caused a lot of tensions in the ODM in particular, because they are supposed to. They actually, in terms of being they're actually the largest opposition party in parliament. But now, when some of their members are now in government, it sort of causes some sort of confusion. Some sort of, what do you call it, bipolarism or schizophrenia, some sort of, yeah. So you have people against it in the same party and some pro for it. But
Yeah.
for sure, the biggest shouting has been about the biggest fight we've observed is between parliament and the executive. The back and forth is going on. Education sector, children are going back to school next week. Third term capitation monies have not been disbursed to the schools yet. Parents are trying to buy books. They don't have much disposable income. In fact, I was listening to one lady and she was saying, we used to be able to buy, the full uniform for the children when they need it. Now we can't. We have to buy it in bits. So you buy the shorts this time, you buy the shirt next time, then the shoes, because of the reduction in disposable income. So the children going back, the schools don't have their money yet. The CS himself has said they don't have the money. Again, the reduction of school fees, tuition fees at the university, again, is causing some concerns because of the there was no consultation. They didn't check whether it was sustainable or anything like that. But it's definitely going to have a domino effect. It'd be good for the students and the parents, but it may not be good for sustainability. SHA again is causing problems. It's not really working. The number of people who are subscribed and the people who are paying are reduced. They're just a fraction of that percentage. Private hospitals, in fact, the Rural and Urban Private Hospital Association, they are saying that they think the way they have designed the system is really to frustrate the private hospitals. And, because right now the chair was saying that some of these hospitals are going to have to close down because they don't have money. And I heard Sifuna himself talking about the hospital where he was born in his rural part of Kenya is closed because of lack of money. The money, they have rendered services but not been paid. So that is what's happening, and that's why people have to go to hospital with money. Level 2, 3, 4, which is the major. 2 and 3 actually are the major ones that are used. So that's what's been in the news. That's what's been in the news. Those are the hot topics. There are many other things. Maybe the newspaper. There's some of the pictures of Gachagwa's return.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you'll be able to see them.
I think I've had my hand up for a little
while. You can find those, right?
Yeah,
you can find those,
yeah. Actually, you see, with the live shows, we hope that people will just participate so that we don't have to do editing. And I was just thinking to myself that I'd like to share my screen to show that video that you sent me about the people who 6 in 10 Kenyans unable to pay, unable to manage their lives. I think, let me try and share my screen and show that video here. Yeah, so let me play.
You have an echo. I don't know why.
Okay.
When you're talking.
62% of Kenyans expect to be unable to pay at least one of their current loans or bills in full in the coming quarter. This is according to a report by TransUnion that also shows that nearly half of those surveyed say they will take on temporary work to supplement their income. Jimmy Mbogo has details of the report that shows how Kenyans are building resilience in challenging economic times.
Kenya's inflation for the month of July stood at 4.1%, reflecting a slight elevation in the cost of commodities from 3.8% in the previous month. This elevation is now putting pressure on consumers, with a recent report from credit agency TransUnion showing that over 55% of Kenyans expect their discretionary spending to decrease in the next 3 months. The report further indicates that 62% of Kenyans expect to be unable to pay at least one of their current loans or bills in full in the coming quarter, with an additional 34% saying they plan to use their savings, while another 30% are expected to borrow money from friends or family. In the last 3 months, 31% of Kenyans have reported a salary reduction, while 29% experienced job losses. Another 26% reported that their household businesses closed or lost orders. The report painting a picture that Kenyans were concerned about the macroeconomic dynamics, particularly inflation, security, and housing prices, with 76% of Kenyan consumers noting that inflation is a key financial concern, followed by job losses at 60% and housing prices, that is rent and mortgages, at 55%. These factors, they say, have led them to cut back on discretionary spending such as dining out, travel, and entertainment. 61% of those surveyed saying they have cut back on these spendings. Another 30% have cancelled their subscription and discontinued or scaled back their use of digital services. Additionally, 42% of Kenyans expect their spend on in-store or online retail to decrease, with nearly half of those surveyed at 49% expecting to spend less on large purchases in the next quarter. But despite the financial constraints, consumers aren't turning to borrowing due to what they termed as high cost of borrowing. 31% of them opting to find alternate funding, even as 29% expressed concerns about being rejected due to their income or employment status. The findings bringing to light how affordability and perceived ineligibility continue to limit access to credit. On the upside, however, these factors have led to an increase in saving for those with flexibility, where 46% of Kenyans are increasing their emergency saving, a 5 percentage point rise from Q2 of 2024. Jimmy Mbogo, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Wow, that is such an interesting, report. I love those kinds of surveys because they're talking about the fact that we have almost 30% of the population that is jobless, generally. But what they did not do was to do a very good job of describing who it is they talk to. It's important for them to tell us because sometimes they go and they interview students at the university, and that's not good enough. We want to know who are the population that they actually interviewed. Who are these people? Who did they survey? How did they identify the population? What percentage were women? What percentage were middle class? What were their income streams?
There's echo. There's echo.
Can
I
you
don't know where the echo
maybe
comes.
put off your mic.
I put off my mic, but I can hear echo coming from your side.
Oh, sorry. There's nothing I could do about that.
Have another device on? No.
Yeah. Today has just been one of those crazy days. Maybe what I need to do is to speak and then wait. That way that we don't have to have an echo. Does that help, Susan?
No, it's not helping. Am I echoing when I'm talking to you?
No, it's not. You're not echoing. Yeah. So anyway, let me let you
Yeah.
continue talking. But generally, the issue is that we have a third of the population who is out of work. That's serious.
Yeah, that's very true. In fact, what has happened is that also, like for instance, if you say even things like medical care, despite you paying for SHA, you have to go into your pocket to pay for it, and all those type of things. So it's actually making making life more difficult in families because, for instance, if there's a baby on the way or something like that, you can't really depend on SHA, paying for the bed or something like that, because the institutions that you're likely to go to, or where you say you're going to go to have your baby, they're going to demand cash. So it's actually causing a lot of strain on people. In fact, there was another report that they were even talking about the volumes of what people were buying. The people are buying smaller volumes because they didn't have the same, with the same amount of money, you can only purchase a smaller volume of the same item. And I think that particular report also talked about brand loyalty. Some people say, oh, I can only buy Omo, or I can only buy Sunlight, or I can only buy a certain type of rice, or I can only buy this. But now people are not sticking with brand loyalty because of the tightening of the pockets. What was interesting was what they said about increased savings, that people are managing to save somehow. I'm not sure which group of people those are who are saving more. It said it was up by 5% or something like that. Yeah, but maybe that's what they said. And I'm not sure.
I think what they mean is that maybe in the banks they can see that people are hoarding money. There's a difference between hoarding and saving, really. Because if you're saving, you're not going out there to borrow from your family.
In fact, they talked about emergency funds. They're talking about them being emergency funds, which it's like people are sensing. When you find perhaps people responding that way, they're sensing that economics can just change really drastically. So you must have an emergency fund that's going to be able to protect you or to cushion you in the event that happens. You suddenly lose your job and stuff. For instance, there's a group of people who are in Kenya, for instance, who used to work for organizations where the main funder was the US. And now all of a sudden, they're no longer employed. Because of their age, maybe it's difficult to transition into new jobs. And so their status has changed drastically. So those guys, for sure, you'd find them, trying to keep those emergency funds because of those type of things. And when you talk to a few people who have actually found themselves out of a job from USAID, there's some level of desperation and concern because of that change in status. And some of them may still have young children. It's not easy for a family to change the way it lives, to cut your expenditure by a third, even by 10%, depending on how you're living.
People are in contracts, as you saw, mortgages. They don't know if they can pay their mortgages. They don't know if they can pay their rent. Their children are in certain schools, like you said. They have car loans. It's bad.
It's actually, you worry about the mental health indicators in the country when you find quite a fraction of people who have found themselves without jobs. Suddenly, you're the main breadwinner. Your state, you may have to move from where you were living before. You may have to move your children out of the schools that they were in, and that sort of thing. Maybe you have a spouse who doesn't understand what it means. so you end up with those indicators may change. They may change because the children as well are likely to be affected by that change. Maybe if you change the school and they have to start making new friends and stuff like that, because that will call into play their coping ability, their coping ability. And some people are not very resilient. So I like the opening of that article. It said how Kenyans are building resilience, to the changes in the economy. And I think, that's really true. People have really changed their habits. Whereas you would go to some places and they were always full. Now you find they're only full, say, on Sundays and maybe Friday and Sunday or something like, or Wednesday and something like that, you know. But you'll find a lot of places quite empty. But I don't know how much it's going to change because we have the 3 UN institutions that are moving to Nairobi, the UNFPA, UN Women, and there's a third one that are moving here. So we're expecting a lot of staff from different parts of the world to come to be here, you know. So I don't know how that's going to impact the way, you know, because they're likely to have funds, but the locals themselves, because they're affected directly by the economy, may have a different challenge from them. So I don't know how that will affect our ability, our purchasing power as Kenyans. You remember when we had an influx of people going into the Riverside area, Kileleshwa area, they had a lot of money. So they hiked the prices, the rental prices. Then they became really, really high. So the competition is really high. They were even buying properties perhaps at twice the normal price. So it made it very difficult for the locals themselves to cope because they could not compete with those type of prices. But I know now in the Riverside area, Kileleshwa, that the rental prices went down because people stopped, you know, they couldn't afford it, so they moved to other areas. So now the rental prices came down again. So, yeah, and you know that area is quite convenient. You know, it's a convenient place to live, although it's getting quite crowded now. Yeah, so that report is really telling. And it's a consumer report.
Yeah, that's a very interesting report, Susan. And when you say the Riverside area, Kilimani, Kileleshwa, is becoming more affordable, you're actually right. But that's also because it's so congested. And now there's a problem with water. Water is a big issue. Many people who live there are actually trying to move out now because of congestion, traffic, water problems, pollution, and just generally everybody is there. Everybody wants to be in the same space, and you know, these high-rise buildings which are there. But on the other hand, there are other areas that are growing. Syokimau, the coastal area. I've been looking at the rents in the coast, and they've gone up. They're skyrocketing. The rents, the apartment rents in the coast. I'm actually a little bit concerned about Mombasa, about Kenyans' ability to afford Mombasa in the next few years, because you can see that there's a group of people who are coming back. They want to come to Kenya. Everybody is coming to Kenya, and that's going to change the environment. It's going to change the rental space. A lot of people are renting. I also talked to somebody who is in real estate, and she told me that people are no longer buying, they're renting. You can even now rent units that are fully furnished in Kileleshwa because they're targeting African Americans and other people who are coming in with funding from, you know, with Forex. And that's impacting on the cost of living for Kenyans. So I think that we are really in a catch-22, because it means that if things are outpriced for us, it's a good environment for those. Some people will be so desperate, they'll sell, they'll rent cheaply, and people who have the money will benefit. But there'll be many others who will just be outpriced out of their environments. Yeah, so it's kind of like we have to watch and see what's going to happen here. But we're going to have to close the show within the next 5 minutes or so. And I think maybe you can give us our last, maybe the last comment I would like to make is to ask Kenyans not to give up hope, that every time that we come on board, we're not just talking bad news, you know, that there's no other country to go to. This is our country. And for those of us who are living outside, some of us in the diaspora who are watching inside, it's a very frightening thing to look and see your country. You know, you don't really know where your country is going. And it's not just Kenya. There are countries like Ivory Coast currently in October. They're having their elections as well. And we are seeing a lot of volatility in the region. We can see that Tanzania doesn't want Kenyans, right? So they're imposing certain taxes So it's going to become more difficult for us to run away and move to a different neighboring country. So what I would say is that we really need to protect our country and ensure that we remain peaceful regardless. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. This is home. We have to build it. You know, we're born into a country. We're born as nationals of a country, and it's our work to build it and to use the democratically designed platforms, you know, to really get our voice heard, to do everything legally and according to the Constitution. We're not advocating for any breaking of the law. That's not okay. Yeah, but my part in short is that the more people try to erase you, the more relevant you are. If they wouldn't be trying to erase you if you are not relevant. So when we look at the response to Gachagwa's return, maybe that's a question we need to ask. When we look at perhaps the battle going on between the executive and parliament, there's a question we need to ask there as well. You know, Ndindi Nyoro says, when you hear big words being used, pay a lot of attention to what is being said. And so Kenyans, we love this nation. And you know, let's you know, keep having the conversations. Is going to help us to understand issues better, and we're happy to hear that we're actually building resilience. We're not just waiting for the sky to fall on our heads. Economically, people are figuring it out, and we thank God for that.
Thank you, Susan. That's a great parting shot. And on that note, I want to thank all those who joined us. I can see there are at least 6 people who have viewed our videos today. So that's a great improvement. Although for some reason you're not able to come into the chat, which is something that I think I need to figure out how to fix. We will edit this show and put it up for you so that you can watch it over the week. Let us know what else you'd like us to discuss, and we'll try our best to always, you know, come on board. If you do not find us online on a Friday night, look out for us during the weekend, either Saturday or Sunday, but we'll definitely be on one of the days of the weekend. So thank you so much for watching. From Susan and I, it's Kwaheri ya kuonana. Goodbye. Thank you for watching and take care. Bye-bye.